there. Can we please talk about UFC Vegas 31, I think it was, at the weekend? Islam Makhachev taking on Thiago Moises. And yeah, so I'm going to run through the bets that I made last week. They were not good. They were terrible as advertised. So that, this is going to be a fun one because I'm about to eat all kinds of humble pie over here. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be running through little bits of UFC news in a not too serious way. We'll have a laugh along the way. We'll have a look at my favourite memes and trolls of the week because that's always just one of my favourite things to do. So let's get started. We had Rodolfo Vieira taking on Dustin Stoltzfus at middleweight. And this one is the only bet that I got right. So let's start with our best foot forward, my best bet forward, which was Rodolfo Vieira by submission, because I said this guy, look at the size of him, he has got a squeeze and a half on him, and I wasn't wrong, because man, that was a nasty squeeze. He literally, I mean, he got his back and kind of submits him on the way down. He was tapping. He got him in a rear naked choke whilst they were standing, and the dude was tapping like as he was on the way down, because I mean that squeeze was, whoo, that was tight. That was good. Rodolfo Vieira's stand-up actually looked remarkably better than last time out. He looked crisper. He looked a little bit more tentative in my opinion, because I think it's because he ran out of gas against, I think it was Alexander Hernandez he got guillotined by. I could be wrong there, but feel free to let me know if I am. I might have got that one wrong, but either way. Next fight for Vieira, I think it needs to be a higher ranked guy, but he's probably not ready for a top 20 yet. I noticed that Eric Anders is hovering around rank 25, and he needs a fight. I'm a big fan of Eric Anders as well, and I think that stylistically that could be a pretty fun matchup. Eric Anders is a pretty good wrestler, but also pretty good standing, and yeah, that could be a good matchup to maybe move both of them, like potentially the winner, whoever it may be in that matchup, closer to a top 15 or possibly even top 10 opponent. So then we had Jeremy Stephens versus Mateusz Gamrot. Wow, okay. Jeremy, you just decided to make my bet extra terrible, didn't you, by never even looking like you were in that fight. Fair play to Gamrot. He looked really good. I mean, he's a new player in town, isn't he? Really, he's strung together a few wins in a row. And you know what? He made Jeremy Stephens look, I mean, bang average. I mean, lately, Jeremy Stephens has just been bang average, to be fair. I mean, Jeremy Stephens is calling out Conor McGregor. I don't hate that call out, actually, to be fair. I mean, they're both on losing streaks. They've both got that history with the who the fuck is that guy business. You know what I mean? That could actually be the one to make, because if McGregor loses that one, then he's gone for good. And, Jeremy Stephens, honestly, he's probably already Bellator bound. So Gamrot, but let's look at what's next for the winners. Gamrot, realistically, it's going to be one of three names. It's either going to be Damir Ismagulov, Arman Sarakian, Arman Sarakian, or, much easier to say, Brad Riddle. They're all hovering at 16, 15 and 14 in the rankings respectively. All three of them are on 3-fight win streaks, so I think a fight with any of those guys would make sense for Gamrot, and the winner of which would then move on to a top 10 opponent. So then we had the return of Miesha Cupcake Tate, and I was not convinced. And you know what? I am going to fill my mouth with humble cupcake pie because Miesha Tate looked sensational. She really did. I would, however, point out that I did, spoiler alert, the reason that my bets are terrible is because sometimes I don't do my due diligence. And I did not on this occasion. I hold my hands up. I did not do my due diligence on Reniel. I just literally kind of looked at her record and looked at who she'd been fighting. I did not know that she was already saying this was going to be her last fight, right? She had already mentally retired. I would have never bet on her if I'd have known that, because if that seldom goes well for fighters. If you're saying it's going to be your last fight, the only time I can think of that has gone well is if you're fighting Diego Sanchez. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a gimme. Like Matt Brown, he said that was going to be his last fight, but he felt so good, he kept on going afterwards. But it was hilarious because in the interviews before that fight, they said, oh, so why did you want Diego Sanchez to be your last opponent? He said, well, because I want to go out on a win. That is some top level trolling. That's why I love Matt Brown. He's a real ass dude. Like, he just, look, realistically, I want to go out on a win, so I picked Diego Sanchez. So if I'd have known that Ronaldo was already retired, I probably wouldn't have placed that bet, and I sure as hell wouldn't have pushed it so heavily as well. But yeah, that's just me all over. I'm constantly having to eat humble pie or humble cupcake in this instance. So look, Tate looked really good, but let's just slow our roll a second, because Miesha Tate looked fantastic, but she looked fantastic against a woman who was pushing 50 and had already retired. Okay, and also I didn't realise how much bigger Tate was than Ronaldo. Like, she's considerably bigger. Like, I didn't watch the weigh-ins, so I didn't see that, and I should have done. I should always watch the weigh-ins, really. But I mean, man, Miesha Tate looked gigantic in comparison. So, like, all those things. Like, but fair play to Miesha Tate. She also did it coming off of a 5-year layoff, like coming off of 2 back-to-back losses and a 5-year layoff. Fair play, Miesha Tate. What a great result. Couldn't ask for better. She got the finish. She looked excellent throughout. Do you know what I mean? So, really, we've got to look at what's next for Miesha Tate. Now, Miesha Tate, she called out Holly Holm, and that is the match that needs to happen. I have had comments saying, why the fuck is that the fight that needs to happen? But I'll tell you why. Because it makes sense for both fighters, right? Because I understand, okay, Miesha Tate, she's got a win over Holly Holm. Because actually one of the comments said, why the fuck would that make sense? Holly Holm would destroy Miesha Tate. So, okay, but Miesha Tate won the last time. The last time these two fought, they fought before and Miesha Tate won by submission. Do you know what I mean? She won by finish, okay? Now, I would add to that, slight caveat, she was snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, but she still did it. Holly Holm was winning that whole fight. She was beating the brakes off her. Miesha Tate still won. So you can't sit there and tell me, in all honesty, that, Holly Holm would definitely wreck Miesha Tate. That's not a foregone conclusion. Miesha Tate won last time. So how can you possibly say that? That doesn't make any sense, right? And the reason that this fight needs to happen is because it makes sense for both of them. As I said, because, look, Holly Holm, she wants to get that one back. And realistically, she thinks that it's a fight that she can get back. And also, I think she can probably get that one back. My money would go on Holly Holm, because I do think that, despite what I just said, I think that, honestly, Holly Holm would probably win the rematch. But, going by my picks at the moment, that's almost a guaranteed win for Miesha Tate. But Miesha Tate also wants to prove that the first one wasn't a fluke. You see? So they both get something about it. And let's be honest, they're two of the biggest names in that division. That could headline a fight night, no problem. They'd have no problem doing that. And then the winner would have to go on for a title shot, in my opinion, because that division is just not deep enough to keep those two big names. Whichever one wins that fight, that division is not deep enough to keep one of those two names from a title shot. And it's Miesha Tate's quickest route to the title, which is what she wants, because she wants to make a run at the title. Same for Holly Holm. That is why that fight makes sense in a nutshell. I hope that clarifies it. Anyway, moving on to the main event, we had Islam Makhachev against Thiago Moises. And this one was kind of a foregone... This one was a foregone conclusion, because good Lord... I mean, Makhachev, he looked good, but good God, he also looked big. I mean, he is another one of these guys that cuts a crazy amount of weight. He has a real problem with that weight. Well, no, to be fair, he doesn't, because he's always made that weight, right? But it's just, his weight cut never looks pretty. I know weight cuts don't look pretty, but he's just another one that... Honestly, I've seen a lot of articles where, the weight cuts, really, really quite a struggle for him. And you can see why. He is gigantic. He looked a full weight class bigger than Thiago Moises, right? So, I see him missing weight at some point. He looked so big. But he's another one. Like, Khabib did a similar thing. Because people forget that, look, Khabib, he wasn't really a lightweight. He was so thick and strong for that weight class. And that, coupled with his style, meant that he was this unstoppable force. No one could stop him, because he's cutting down a ridiculous amount of weight. He missed weight on several occasions, I might add. Don't forget that. Like, people say, but he always made weight and he was in... It's like, yeah, but he missed on more than one occasion. Had to go to hospital a couple of times. Fights were called off. Do you not remember any of that? I do. Khabib wasn't really a lightweight. He was a welterweight, a small to mid-sized welterweight that decided to cut down a division so that he could dominate people that were smaller than him. That's what happened. Fair play to him. He was bloody good at doing it too. I don't hate on it. I don't hate it because look, at the end of the day, by hook or by crook, he made that weight when he needed to. He made that weight when it counted, and he's got the titles and accolades to show for it. And it's probably going to be the same thing with Islam Makhachev. No, he's 5'10", which is quite tall for that division. You've got and the thing is like, he was never losing against Moises, right? Moises, like, you looked at them, it's like, good Lord, look at the size of that dude compared to Moises. Like, Moises looked like an actual lightweight, whereas Makhachev, he looked like a welterweight, and it showed in the performance as well. Makhachev looked fantastic, he looked great in every single area, and I would like to see him fight somebody who's higher up in the rankings now. I mean, they've already pushed him up to rank 5, which I don't think is really reflective of who he's fought. I don't think that he should be there. Based on who he's fought, he shouldn't be ranked number 5. I don't see it. But what they've done is they've taken into account his win streak and the fact that he's so dominant and his skill level and the fact that Khabib supports him and the fact that he's got a hype behind him. That is why he is ranked 5. Those 5 reasons, that's why he's ranked number 5. Okay? And it's not based on who he's beaten, because he's not beaten anybody in the top 10, I don't think. Was Moises top 10? Let me know in the comments. Was Moises top 10? Because otherwise, I don't think he's beaten anyone top 10. But he definitely has to now. Looking at possible opponents, Gregor Gillespie, that could be an interesting fight. Gregor Gillespie is a stud wrestler, but you know what? He's too small for Makhachev. Makhachev would murder him because Gregor Gillespie, he's an actual lightweight. He's like 5'7". He's a smaller frame. He's a stud wrestler, but he is way too small for Islam Makhachev. Maybe Chandler. Chandler's probably a good fight for Makhachev because Chandler, he's strong, he's got really good knockout power, he's got great wrestling himself, and he's quite a chunky, quite a well-built lightweight. He cuts down from quite a high weight himself, I think. But I mean, Makhachev is still going to be the bigger guy in that fight, make no mistake. He's likely going to be the bigger guy in every fight. At lightweight, in all honesty. He stands at like 5'10", and he's just got a very good stature to him. And you know what? If he can keep making that weight, no matter how much it sucks for him, then he's going to get titles, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? And Khabib has shown people how to do that. If you cut down enough weight and you can be bigger and you have that grappling heavy style, then you're going to be very difficult to beat. And fair enough. You know, it's a valid a strategy as anything else, isn't it? It stays within the rules, and you know what I mean? As long as you make that weight on fight night, crack on, I say. So then, let's have a look at the news. One thing that you can't have avoided, obviously, Dustin versus Conor is already in the books. Jake Paul has sent Conor the sleepy Conor chain. Fucking brilliant. I actually fucking love this, right? Because it's actually really nice. You see, because Dustin actually, he says that he's auctioned it off. What a great... I think he should have kept it, because Michael Bisping alluded to this on the Believe You Me podcast, which I listen to every week. And I think that Michael Bisping is absolutely right. I think that it's like just what a great memento of a fight. Do you know what I mean? He could have kept that forever. If it was me, I'd have kept it, but I get it. Dustin's a charity man. He loves the Good Fight Foundation, and he's auctioned it off for money for a great cause. Fair play to Dustin. He's looking like a real sweetheart of a guy now, isn't he? And you know what? I hate to admit it, but I'm starting to like Jake Paul. You know, the note itself is it's a lovely note, isn't it, Joey? You know, it's just like, hey, look, you fully deserve this. You know, it just seems nice. And you know what? I love a good troll job. And somebody who's got enough money to do a $100,000 troll job, I am all in favour of that. I absolutely love it. When I saw the necklace, I was like, you know what? I really like that. I think that's pretty good, because the thing is, at the end of the day, like Jake Paul, he was trying to be the bad guy. He always is. Like it's a persona. If you hate Jake Paul, you're kind of a mark, because you're buying in to what he's doing. But you know what? This gesture here, kind of making me like him, kind of making me not hate Jake Paul. And that goes back to what I was saying last week. I was saying that Dustin Poirier, he looked like a really nice guy compared to McGregor, but you could have put fucking Jeffrey Dahmer in there against McGregor, and he'd have looked like a likeable guy in comparison to all the nonsense that McGregor was doing. Some of that vile stuff that he was talking about when he had his broken leg, getting in my DMs and fucking killing him in their sleep, all that kind of shit. Turns out, if you put Jake Paul next to Conor McGregor, makes Jake Paul a likeable guy as well, because I'm actually starting to like the dude. So speaking of Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley, obviously they are going to be boxing fairly soon. They put an extra little bet on the line. So they basically bet that whoever wins, or whoever loses, has to get a tattoo. Say Tyron Woodley loses, he's going to have to get "I love Jake Paul" tattooed on, vice versa, right? I actually like that. I think it's quite funny because Tyron Woodley, he's not winning these press conferences because he's just coming off as he needs to find some confidence. Like, I think that Tyron Woodley will win this boxing match. I do. I just think that Tyron Woodley, he is a massive step up in competition for Jake Paul. I'm not saying that Jake Paul can't. Look, at the end of the day, Jake Paul, all he's doing is getting better and better. Every day he's getting better. And you know what? I would not be surprised to see Jake Paul knock Tyron Woodley out, because Tyron Woodley has been knocked out a few times and he didn't leave on a winning record, did he? He lost on like a 4 or 5 fight skid, right? The guy is in his 40s now. There are avenues for Jake Paul to win this fight. I personally think that Woodley will win, but I don't know if Woodley thinks he'll win, because where's the confidence? Because the thing is, I don't know how much he needs the money, but like Jake Paul offered him the double or nothing bet. He said, look, I will double your purse, or if you lose, you get nothing. You want to take that bet? And he was like, no, I'm not doing that. It's like, because he needs the money. But if he was ultimately confident in being able to beat Jake Paul, then he'd have taken that bet. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think that if Woodley was truly confident, he'd have taken that bet? Or am I barking up the wrong tree? I might have got it completely wrong. Maybe it's just, look, the smartest financial decision is obviously not to take that bet, to get your guaranteed payday. I understand that. But there needs to be some confidence there. And it's like he wasn't even really like confident about taking that bet either. Like the tattoo bet. He really looked kind of reluctant. So yeah, you know what? I'm interested in this one. I'll probably watch it. Conor McGregor apparently has an unbreakable shin now. So he said that now he's got his titanium rod in his leg, that his doctor told him that his shin is unbreakable. I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. I think that Conor's just kind of trying to tell himself that. I mean, he has to tell himself that. Like, at the end of the day, Conor has to tell himself that it was a fluke, that Dustin can't beat him really, that it didn't really happen, that he was winning that round. I've heard him say that. He thinks he was winning that round. More worryingly, Conor's coach said that he thought he was winning that round. He said, I thought that round was going fantastic. You're crazy. And Dustin's manager has picked up on this and said that John Kavanagh is batshit out of his fucking mind if he thinks that round was going fantastic for Conor McGregor. I'm sorry, but the problem is that like Conor was like talking all this nonsense in his Instagram video, saying that's why he was because he hurt his ankles, he was training off of his back a lot. That's why he was learning how to land those nasty strikes and all those up kicks and strike off the back. No, I think that's probably because you were getting dominated in training. I think possibly that's what was going on. If you were on your back all the time in training and sparring, then that means that you were getting put onto your back constantly, right? But the problem is, I bet people were telling you, no, Conor, you're the champ, you're great though. Like, that's great, that's what you want to do. You should be doing that. I think he's surrounded with a bunch of yes men at this point, and I don't think that that is the best thing for him. I think he possibly needs to change things up. If he wants to come back and get a win, I think he needs to put some staff in place that are going to tell him when he's training shit, when he's not training right, when he's doing things wrong. He needs that, because otherwise he's just going to come out and he's going to get his ass kicked again. That's going to happen. So anyway, Costa has put down the wine bottle for long enough to actually start thinking about fighting in the UFC again. And he's pushing for a fight with Marvin Vettori. And you know what? I actually kind of like that fight. I quite like that fight for Vettori. And honestly, I don't mind it for Costa. But I would lean towards Vettori in that fight because I honestly think that Costa was overrated before he fought Adesanya. The biggest name he'd really beaten impressively before then was Johnny Hendricks. He went the distance with Yoel Romero, and honestly, that fight was close. That could have gone either way, like that judges. But he did beat Yoel Romero, so fair play to that. But other than that, who had he beaten? Who? Point to him. Like Johnny Hendricks, are you kidding me, right? And then he goes in against Adesanya and he looked fucking shit. Do you know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, one thing that I see in Vettori that I don't see in Costa is a need to win. Like, Vettori, he often needs to win. I mean, he didn't look that good against Adesanya, but a lot of people don't. But other than that, like, you see a kind of real desire to win in Vettori, and I just don't see that in Costa quite a lot. So, you know what? It's a winnable fight for both of them. I think it would be a pretty good one as well. But Michael Bisping had a really good idea, actually, on the BYM podcast. It's why he appears on the graphics there. Mr. Luke Rockhold has inserted himself into the conversation. He wants to have a fight. And yeah, you know what? Marvin Vettori would be a great fight for Luke Rockhold. I think that's a winnable fight for both of them, really. And you know what? It's a huge name to put in the feather of Vittori's cap if he gets the win. And, you know, Luke Rockhold, if he comes back and beats the last guy who fought for the title, all of a sudden, he is making an argument for him to be back in the title picture. That's the perfect matchup. Get Michael Bisping on bloody matchmaking duties, guys. Do you know what I mean? Start paying him some real wedge and make him the new matchmaker, because honestly, that is absolutely inspired. Yeah, brilliant stuff. So then, let's move on to the troll of the week. We have got some good ones in here. Let me just have a quick look, see if I can find them. As you can see, I am as prepared as ever. You know what I mean? Spared no expense getting prepared for this one. So, this one is Brendan Sharp on Sean O'Malley. He's done this quite a few times. So this is just, I know, it's hilarious. Credit Left Hook Club for this. It's a funny meme and it really brought me a lot of enjoyment. So it's like, dude, I hate Sean O'Malley. He's so overrated. Only ever fights cans. And then Rogan says he's actually super talented and is an insanely high-level striker. And then the next thing you see is Sharp has got the rainbow hair like Sean O'Malley. It's like, dude, he's the best. Undefeated for sure. The Cheeto fight was a fluke. 14-0. I've always said that. Because the thing is, I've seen Sharp. I don't get me wrong. I really like Brendan Sharp. I think his shows are fantastic. I do listen to him. I've been to see him live. He was brilliant. Like, he was really good fun. But he has flip-flopped on quite a few fighters. I believe he used to call Francis Ngannou Czech Congo with braids. And I'll quote him on that. You know, I'm sure that's another meme that's flying around somewhere. It's like, Francis Ngannou is just Czech Congo with braids. It's like, huh? Okay. Yeah, you know, it's not really though, is he? But yeah, that was a fun one. Then next up, obviously we've got Dana White. He announced last week. I think it's going to be, I can't remember which event it is, but it's a 5-rounder. Lawler versus Diaz 2. They first fought in like 2004. So then you've got me watching Lawler versus Diaz 1, and I think that is a picture of Dana White from 2004, back when he looked like a used car salesman. And then you've got me watching Lawler versus Diaz 2, where you've got Dana White there as he is today, looking like a cast member in Fast and Furious. I love how much he's changed over the years. It's brilliant. Like he looks like a different guy. Is that a different guy? I don't know. Either way, that one made me giggle. Then next up, we have got Gaethje getting rejected online. Yeah, this was really funny. Well, I have seen this before. I don't think I've featured it on the show though. So yeah, this girl's like, why can't I find a guy like this? Oh, and it's a picture of Gaethje just like in the cage, all getting ready to go. Credit MMA streams for this one. And then you've got Justin Gaethje just literally responds to her saying, "Hey," and she's like, "No." He's like, I'm literally the guy in this picture. Do you know, it's just because he's got glasses on in his profile picture. It's like, yeah, girl, you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, Joey. Literally got this pic. I don't know if it's real. I doubt it, but I kind of hope it's real. And then we've got, as I mentioned earlier, is Jeremy Stephens lost his 5th fight in a row last week. And then you've got Scott Coker. He is hiding around the tree. He's rubbing his hands when Jeremy Stephens loses 5 in a row. He's just found the next ex-UFC fighter to come onto his roster, hasn't he, eh? Oh, that is brilliant. But yeah, so that's all I've got time for this week. It's been a fun one. I'm going to be placing some bets. It's going to be TJ Dillashaw against Sandhagen, the fight night this week. I don't know who to pick in that one. Whoever I pick, the other will win, probably. Yeah, that should be a decent night of fights, actually. I'll be placing those picks on Friday. If you're on the Patreon, you'll get them on Friday. Everyone else, you can get those picks on the Saturday. And all my social media handles are all there. I'd just like to thank you for your support. If you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe and share. Sharing, that's really important. That'll help me out massively because, you know, it's more views I get, the more I can grow this. I enjoy talking to the void anyway, and I hope that you enjoy it too. But until next time, keep all those odds long and those bets terrible.